Howdy, 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 and welcome to another episode of the DirtInfo podcast. This week, Carter and I discuss our trips to 141 and Ogilvie and recap the big money results from this past week. Then we'll set the table for a busy week ahead, and as always, send you home with one for the road. Carter, I think this is our next segment, and it's still not named, but I have one I want to propose. Stylin and Profilin.
That's better than what I thought you were going to propose.
All right.
When you told me earlier in the day that you had a name, I was worried it was going to be a name that in my mind was kind of dumb because every now and then you come up with a name. I'm like, I don't know about that one, but I'm okay with this name.
Fair enough. There are some that are in left field, and I'm okay with that. That's why I run them by you before I do them. but but this one I felt confident was gonna work. So anyway, and then you know what? Let's go ahead and let's have our buddy Mark Anderson Images.com sponsor this segment for this week. So Mark was kind enough to lend us the main photo for the thumbnail this week, that awesome photo of Jody Belfi. And so we're gonna go ahead and let Mark be the sponsor of Stylin and Profilin, where we talk about our shirts. So Carter, who are you repping today?
I got a Zach Vanderbeek shirt on, which I got for like $5 or something plus shipping. Off his website, maybe like 6 years ago or something. And I got it because Benji switched to a Vanderbilt chassis, and I was like, I guess I'll get a Vanderbeek shirt since he's the one who built them. And
Yeah.
Vanderbeek is the only guy I've ever seen win a USMTS race. I've been to two, and he won both. So
All right. All right. Was that before or after you bought the shirt?
four. It was
Okay.
2016, I believe, when USMTS came to Northeast Wisconsin, and he won Luxembourg and 141. I also think he won the next night too at I think Oshkosh. I think he won three out of the four for that swing. So we had a good week in
Okay.
this part of the
Yeah.
part of the state.
Yeah. Sounds like he made a fan out of you and Benji. So you bought the shirt and Benji bought the chassis. so uh, right on. So when I first saw that earlier before we started recording, I thought it was the same one I have. So it's not. Yours is more retro than mine. So you're more OG than I am on the ZVB train. But yeah, when I noticed it, I was like, "Ooh, Sherry, I gotta watch out. Sherry really likes me in that shirt." So, but, but anyway, well. So I guess that makes it my turn. And this is my brand spanking new Clayton Wagaman shirt. I just picked it up this weekend at Ogilvie. I'm kind of predictable. I saw it was available on Facebook and I reposted immediately and said it was going to be the first thing I did at Ogilvie. And I'll be darned, that was pretty much the very first thing I did at Ogilvie. I rolled up, I went, Sherry was still nursing her foot. So I'm lucky. Like I've been saying on this podcast, I got a good one, y'all, but I really do got a good one. She was nursing a little bit of a hurt foot, but she still wanted to get out and race. So we got there. I had her kind of get her stuff ready in the back of the truck, and I ran and got the pit pass right away. Came back, met her up. I was the mule and carried all the chairs and blankets and bags and whatever else up, and got her situated. And then I beat feet to the Wagaman pit stall. So on the way, I waved at a racer pulling their car into the pits, and actually he waved at me. I want to make clear he waved at me first, so I just waved back. I don't feel like I'm at the level of being waved at by anybody, to be quite frank. So it still catches me off guard. But anyway, he waved, I waved back, and he's 1 for 1 on the season. So it's if you see me in the pits, you should wave if you're hauling your car, and I think you're gonna win. That's what history says right now.
Does he have a
So
name?
he does. Dennis Check. He won the super stock feature. Heck yeah, he did. He actually held off Shane Sabraski in a very good race, which we'll talk more about the racing, but I guess I'll just mention this one now. But Sabraski was trying to get around him on the bottom, and Dennis held his line. Sabraski, didn't respectfully raced him, didn't knock him off his line. Tried to go around him up top, wasn't there. Tried to go back underneath, it wasn't there. So, but it was a good race, held him off. I mean, one of the best to ever do it, and he held him off real well. It actually reminded me. Now I'm just going to go on a tangent, but it reminded me of a post I saw like over the winter from Dennis Checks on his Facebook page of like him, Shane Sabraski, and Dan Ebert sitting next to each other at like a snowmobile race, and they like used to snowmobile race together.
Oh yeah, James Essex makes it very known that Dan Ebert was a snowmobile racer.
Yeah, well, he raced with Shane Zabrowski at some point, and apparently Dennis Zek too. I think it's Zek. I always say Czech, but I think it's Zek, so I want to correct it, Dennis Zek. But yeah, so I don't know. And Dennis is the comment they had made on the post was something like, I remember these memories fondly, but I wish they'd have given me some of the racing talent. Well, I think he was being mean to himself, and not to make it all about. I read Zek's Facebook post, but he also said he was coming as quote car count. He was coming to Ogilvie to be car count. Worked on the car exactly 2.5 hours in the off season and was coming to be car count, and he won the freaking things.
Was it your post where you had the car count? I saw that somewhere. Someone had it the
Yeah,
nickname. Was it?
I put it in there, but
Yes.
that was based on
I
it.
I
So
didn't
that was like
know
a
I didn't know what it meant, and that would
okay,
explain it now. That is kind of
yeah.
funny.
Yeah. So, like, probably really ridiculously inside joke. It mostly made just me laugh when I wrote it, but it made me laugh when I wrote it, so I left it. But yeah, he said he was coming to be car count, and he won the whole thing. So I thought that was awesome. Also, shout out to the Super Sox. They were like 24 deep. So there was a lot of them in attendance. I know you gave me a hard time before when I said everybody was there and the car count was 90 less than 141 or something. But I mean, in certain classes they showed out. They absolutely did. The
But
modifieds as well.
the talent was there. I mean, you still have what 117, which is still a good
Yeah.
car. I mean, mo pretty much everywhere it's like, oh, that's a good night for a car count. It's
Yeah.
just in my mind, I guess where I'm from, it's like 117.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep. And I mean, I'm known for hyperbole. So even as I was saying it, like I was like, I know that I'm mostly speaking the mod field was dope. Like that was one of the deepest Wasota mod fields I think I've ever seen. And so like when I say everybody was there, dang near everybody was there in a mod. Like they really were. So um so but yeah, anyway, then we're actually on the shirt still, believe it or not. But then, so after Dennis waved at me and I waved at him, I marched right up to the Wagaman merch trailer and picked up two, one for me and one for Sherry. So, and she has given me like multiple compliments today for wearing this, so I know this is a banger. And like, it's that thick material. It's like I don't know. It's a nice purple. You know, I'm a sucker for the pink. Anyway, I'm selling the thing hard. If you're able, go get one, dude. Like I recommend it. The price is good. It was $25, and they had big dude sizes, so even better. But anyway, moving on. The rest of the time at Ogilvie was a blast. So, like I mentioned, I did go into the pits. I exclusively had planned to go in the pits for this, but I was able to sweet talk Sherry into let me roam, even though she was busted up in the bleachers, and so I was able to walk around and check out, see who everyone was there and take some pictures and stuff and post it on social media. So that was fun. Ran into a few people who recognized me, which was weird. One such gentleman, Bobby Arnaz, had stopped me. He's like, "Hey, you're the DirtInfo guy." I was like, "Whoa!" I was taking it back. I'm not trying to brag. These are honest reactions. I wasn't quite ready for that. But anyway, and then I went and made a fool of myself, and I think I misheard his name in the pit. So, Bobby, I apologize. We will fix that moving forward. So, but yeah, so no, it was pretty neat. And then the racing was phenomenal. So the late model feature, I tried to sneak a quick vape break in between features, and I didn't time it right, so I got trapped over there because I'm a stickler. I will not walk up into the stands during a feature.
What if a caution
Not
comes
on
out?
during a caution. I'll do it. I'll do it
Okay.
under yellow. I won't do it under green. I won't. You won't catch me doing that. It's tough for me to do it during a heat, but I could, but I will not during a feature. That's just rude, in my
I'll do it
opinion.
during a B main. If it's like a sport mod B main.
Maybe.
Everybody's going to get food during that
Yeah,
anyway.
you make a point, but I try to be respectful,
If
right? But definitely
features,
never during a
features,
feature. Yeah.
features, yeah, I won't leave my seat. But if I, for some reason, got stuck down there in a feature, I'd probably just wait for the first caution and then hurry my way
Yep.
back to my seat.
which I did, but it works out. I mean, because the area that I had kind of went and run to go sneak and hide in was right off of 3 and 4. And so the late model feature was going, and I was watching those bad boys rip the top coming right at me out of 4. And I was there, and they didn't go yellow until after TPO made his big run around Zimple. So it was pretty cool. I got to see that basically coming right at me, and smell-o-vision basically. So that there were pros and cons, and then they went to yellow, and I went up and finished and watched the rest with Sherry. But that was a pretty solid race. And then the Midwest Modified feature, you probably saw it on social media, but Joey Jensen won that by 0.014 on a last lap pass. So it was kind of cool to watch because he tried the slider with 1 to go, and Vandekamp drove underneath him, and they ran their same lines through 1 and 2, and coming into 3 and 4, Vandekamp was kind of running like high middle, and Jensen threw that slider in again, and Vandekamp, kind of was going up to the cushion anyway. Long story short, he impeded him just enough that when Vandekamp drove underneath him this time, he couldn't beat him to the line, and it was an absolute drag race right to the checkers. So that was an awesome race too. In real time, I was not entirely sure who won it, so much so that I had to look up at the board to get a final answer. But if you would have asked me, I thought Vandekamp had won it from where I was sitting between 3 and 4 and the flag stand. But
And from video, it also looked that way. But that the video was from the flag stand to 1 and 2, and that the video from like that angle is always like more an advantage for the inside car. It always looks like the
yeah,
inside car is a
well,
bit
and
more ahead.
interestingly enough, like him and I are on the same plane, right? He's like in before 1 looking this way, and I'm looking that way. So
Yeah.
we're kind of oddly enough, we're kind of seeing the same thing. But it was close enough where I went and I was like, dang, and I looked at the board, and then the board had the 30 of Jensen. I was like, holy crap, he got him. That was an awesome race, and the modified feature for that field was loaded, like so much so that when they had a fair bit of dudes pull off, but every person who pulled off, you're like, oh no, Clayton pulled off, oh no, Shane Zabrowski pulled off, oh no, Gerke pulled off, but like the field was so deep, like there was still so much racing action going on, and the thumbnails actually, I believe, a picture of when Jody Belfi catfished the bottom underneath Landon Atkinson, who had led a fair bit of the race, took over from Gerke, who Gerke showed up in a black and white car, and then when he took the track for hot laps, he had it wrapped. So they had wrapped it in the pits. It's actually a good looking wrap. I didn't. Interestingly enough, side note, Gerke went black with like dark blue and whites and glimmer, but this is the year of the white modified in my neck of the woods. There are so many white modifieds. That was the color scheme this year, man. Everyone's got white, some sort of bright color, flow orange, flow yellow, or something.
No, the orange is a popular thing by me.
Yep. And then a lot of them got like the glimmer numbers,
Oh,
like they've
yep.
got some kind of, there's different versions of the sheen, but they all have some sort of sheen, whether it looks kind of like glitter or like those squares that reflect. It's all reflective, right? So there's definitely some themes I saw in the pits, but Gerke's car looked black. But anyway, so Belfi made the pass on Atkinson in traffic, and as that was going down, Atkinson, I missed when, but somehow folded his nose under, so he was hanging on for dear life. Belfi was catfishing him, and then Joey Thomas was coming through the middle, and TPO was absolutely just blasting the cushion, and they were all they got thrown under a blanket in traffic with 2 to go, and then the caution came out. It was about to just be an epic, and unfortunately, the caution came out, but it was a good race all the same and solid field, so that makes sense. But yeah, other than that, the Hornet feature was kind of interesting. I saw my first Hornet sticks guy, I guess. So,
Did he have sticks or just using his hands?
it was just his hands.
Did he have the Bob Pierce pink gloves on?
He did have a reflective vest on. I honestly can't recall. He may have had gloves, but I don't remember. Like
It's just funny at like tracks where you can see the stick guys or whatever, you can always see Bobby Pierce's dad because he's got the pink
The
gloves on every
picture of
time.
him. Yep. Well, this guy you couldn't miss because there were no other stick guys for the Hornet feature. But in their defense, it worked because he won. Anthony Jensen won the feature, and he held off. He held off Bobby Arnis, who I mentioned earlier, and another gentleman. And I apologize, I forgot his name. He came in second, but it was 3 cars to the line in the feature, even of the Hornets. So it was good racing all around, for sure. But yeah. Other than that, I did want to mention too. I swung by to get. So Sherry asked me to go get coffee and mini donuts. That was the request, and so I went on the mission and I went in the concession area first because like I'll get the coffee out of the way, and the line was super long. I was like, I don't want to miss this. All right. So I just went to the mini. I went to Max Minis and I got instead of just getting one to split, I just got each our own mini donuts, and I figured that substituted. I gave her the hotter and fresher one, and I had 8 out of the one while I was waiting for that one to be made, and I figured that counted for coffee mini donuts. But a gentleman by the name of Doug Frederick, who races a Mod 4 at Granite City, I believe, was working in there as well, and mentioned he was a listener of the show. So just wanted to say hello, Doug. We mentioned Bobby earlier as well. So it's always neat and cool to meet those folks. So I appreciate it. We don't have a ton of viewers, so when someone goes out of their way to tell me they watch, I want to let them know I appreciate the hell out of them. So thank you, everyone who watches. Well, anyway, that was my trip to Ogilvie. So you went to 141, and everybody was actually there.
Yeah.
Everybody.
So my trip wasn't as exciting as my past like few weekends. Because I was in state the entire weekend. I didn't leave
Yeah,
the state once.
yeah. Any
All
car
the
troubles?
Nope. Thankfully,
No, no car troubles.
it survived the 30-minute drive. Thankfully.
Look at that.
And there was a chance though. I did text you. It was Thursday or something. I was like, I might end up in Independence, Iowa. If
Yeah,
because the weather. So the weather was fine Saturday. It's just it rained a bunch Thursday night all the way through Friday. Unfortunately, it did
yeah.
cause Luxembourg to rain out, which I would have been at Friday. Um, but somehow we showed up there and the track wasn't like dry like you showed up and it's like they didn't water the thing, but it was like it was blowing dust eventually in the heats, not a ton where you couldn't see the track, but enough to be like,
Mhm.
okay, it's not going to be super rough and hammer down all night. It's still going to be racy and slick off. Um, and it didn't get it got a little rough, maybe around the mod heats, which if you they had 205 cars, so that's about after 160 cars ran all their heats on it. It
Yeah,
started getting a little rough, but it's still not like terrible. Nobody really pulled off. I know the first week a bunch of guys were pulling off because it was really bad. This week
yeah,
everyone kind of stayed out for the whole race because it was bearable. Um, and the racing was pretty good. No crazy finish like you had, but Benji Lacrosse won the mod feature, and I was pretty excited about that.
yeah.
I was getting worried though because Brian Mullen, who's a good friend of Benji, was catching him on the top with like 5 to go, and then with 5 to go, all of a sudden Mullen showed his nose to Benji, and Benji's like, "Oh, all right, guess I'm going to the top in 3 and 4 now. We're not gonna not gonna let that happen."
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, the other classes all had good races, and oh, I want to mention Trenton Bell, who is an Eagle River guy, which we've talked about Eagle River guys before with Dustin White, who won the
yeah.
IMCA Winter Nationals
Yeah,
Championship,
Winter Nationals. Yeah,
and I think he won a feature too, but I know he won the
yeah,
points deal with
definitely
that.
won. Yeah,
Um, but Trenton Bell won the stock car feature, and it was an upset. I don't think anyone really thought he was gonna go out there and win that thing, and he started on the pole, but he led I think every lap, and it wasn't like it was one lane or on the bottom or anything. Guys could get by him, and he held them off for the whole thing.
yeah,
So congrats to him. Only 18, so probably hasn't been racing for too long either.
yeah,
And he got it done. So the Eagle River guys are they're getting better and better. For a while there, they showed up and it's like, oh, I mean, they'll be in the feature, but they might not win. But now all of a sudden they're
yeah.
winning stuff. So
Yeah, all of a sudden they're contenders, man. So they're getting it together. That is kind of cool though, right? Like I don't know that we haven't had a ton of racing so far, and somehow we've managed to stumble on talking about two different guys from that track,
Yeah, and Eagle
and so
River
forth.
is 3-ish hours probably from 141, and Eagle River, there's a track there that typically runs on Tuesdays, so all those guys
Uh,
come either south to IMCA area on the weekend, or some of them will go north, like some of the Midwest mods or B mods at Eagle River, but they're just Midwest mods. Will go to like ABC Raceway or whatnot.
okay.
Um, yeah, the ones that come south have been putting on a fight with the regulars in my area, so that's cool to see. And a
Heck yeah.
shout out to 141, 205 cars, and they were started at 6:01, so they were 1 minute late. Um,
Oh man.
but then they were done at 10:28, and their curfew's 10:30. So
Right on. Right on. Oh, I didn't realize they had a curfew there. So
yeah,
that is actually even
that's
like
why
more of
they're
an
always
immaculate
that's
feat.
why they're always keeping it moving because they got a
Yeah.
strict curfew, which they might be able to go over like a couple minutes because like last year, one night when they had like 230 cars for their weekly show, they went over about like 8 minutes or something like that. So maybe they might have like 8 minutes, like it's okay. Like don't make it a
Yeah.
regular thing, but if it happens once a month, it's not a big deal maybe. But
Yeah.
and I do know if it rains, they get an extra hour, I believe. So if it
Okay.
rains during like the heats or something, they can go to 11:30 instead, if they're able to work the track back in. So,
Right on. Right
but
on. That always just makes. I mean, that just makes those car counts even more impressive, right? They've got 4.5 hours to get the show in, like hard, like pretty much
yeah,
hard stop within some reasonable variance, right? But there's no slowing,
no,
no slowing down. We got to wrap this up.
there's when the last four-cylinder B main was done, the first feature was pulling onto the track. Like there was no intermission after B main. The closest thing to an intermission you'll get is the water truck's going to make 2 laps around the top side, and then the cars will maybe pack it in for 5-ish laps, and then just to keep the top there, and then we're back to racing. That's so you
All
get
right.
about a 5 minute intermission if you're lucky. So if you hate missing races and you got to go to the bathroom, it's not a good place
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah. Uh, well, that also probably explains why it's on Flow, though. I'm rambling now, but just like that's a tight product, you know. Like you
Yeah,
can, if you're a streaming service, you're like you're getting a 4.5 hour show like every time. Just
yeah, and
anyway.
there's been nights where they'll have like one. I mean, usually I think their average car count, I have it on my phone, but I don't remember where it is. But I think it was like 170 something for their average weekly show car count last year.
Mhm.
So like when they have like 175 or something, they're usually done at like 9:45 or like like before
That's
10
crazy.
usually. So it's like sometimes you're getting like shorter than 4 hours and you're seeing 170 cars. So
Right on.
the only downside with that many cars is you do have to obviously water it a bit more.
Yeah.
You can't run nonstop with that many cars and not expect the track to just stay perfect all night. So you have to do a few little breaks like I mentioned, but
Yeah.
that's I'll take that
Minimal.
if it keeps the racing good. No one wants to watch five features rubber down. So
Yeah. I'm gonna have to make it out there with you one of these times. If not this year, next. But
yeah,
yeah,
one of
I,
these times you got to get out there.
the more we
Uh,
talk about it, the more I'm just like, man, I gotta get there.
The
I gotta get
Clash would be
there.
a good one, or if
It would
or
be.
the fall special. One of those two I recommend.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I went to Luxie's fall special last
You
year.
did. If you
Yeah.
came one
Even
day earlier, you could have went to because 141 ran that
uh,
Friday. You could have done both.
the swing.
Yeah,
Huh. Something to think about. But yeah, definitely. Well, I actually wrote about that Luxie trip on Facebook recently. So if y'all are listening, you want to hear about my adventures at Luxie, go check it out. It's a pretty cool racetrack. But so, well, it was nice to be back in the saddle, like at a racetrack, seeing people, smell it. Like I know you did it already, but for me, man, like it was nice. It was real nice. And I mean, heck, for even for you to just be kind of at the home track or the second home track, right? I
yeah.
suppose
Not
Luxie's
doing
the
getting home before midnight is a or not having to be
yeah.
in a hotel is a plus. So
Yeah, it's kind of started to feel like real race season again, so it was nice. Yeah, yeah. I had mentioned so as a bit of a segue, I had mentioned to Sherry walking into Ogilvie that like the last 2 years, one year we were in Iowa at 34 Raceway for a race because we just couldn't wait any longer. And last year we had booked hotels and the whole nine. We're gonna take the boys for like a staycation to go before it got rained out. But like we're not used to having racing this time of year where I'm at least rarely. So it was nice to only have to drive an hour, not all the way down to 34. But anyway, speaking of 34. Mars had a 3-day swing, including 2 days at 34, but they started off at a track we talked about last week, Tipton. You said it was called Tipton, but it goes by another name as well.
Cedar County Raceway, but it's one of those tracks where people don't actually call it by its name. I don't know if you got anything like that by you, but there's some by me that are like that. It's just you go by the name of the city pretty much.
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to. There's one I can't place it, but um, not one under the gun. But yeah, I know what you're talking about, right? Just everyone it's
Yeah.
in Tipton. but anyway, I think we both watched it. I don't remember a ton other than that Brandon Shepard won, which made him be back to back with Mars. He won technically it was with Outlaws too, but
Yeah.
the Illini 100. And that was a hard one for me, man. And then he won at Tipton as well. So Bobby Pierce, I believe, was second, and Tanner English was third. So speaking of Tanner English, I was doing research for this. Little bit of a tangent. He's sitting 10th in Outlaw points. That part's not relevant. I just didn't realize he was running Outlaws.
Yep.
He flew under the radar for me on that one. That one never quite clicked up there. So anyway, so who knew? I didn't. Anyway, but so then after Tipton, they went to 34 for the Slocum 50, and Bobby Pierce won both nights. Night one, he topped a resurgent Dennis Erb and Brian Shirley. And then for the $10,555 feature on Saturday, he topped Carson Ferguson and Dennis Erb again. Is he back in a rocket?
He is back in a rocket.
He's back
He
in a rocket
as of I don't know the exact week, but as of recently, he
recently.
got 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 out of the Capitol and back in a rocket. So
All right, all right. Well, look at Rockets. I'm telling you, they're on the come up. We mentioned built a whole show around it last week, y'all.
and
So
they
of
keep
course
winning.
they keep winning. We were good luck. We're good luck, just like Dennis Zach. We're just good luck, Carter. We're just good luck. Anyway, so that Saturday feature was pretty good. I didn't catch it, but I caught highlights. I presume you being at the track probably also just
Yeah,
caught highlights.
highlights
Yeah,
of the finish.
yeah. That was interesting. Like it looked. I don't want to say rubbered. I think the nice way to say is bottom dominant, but it looked like there was one line around that place, and Bobby left it. Ferguson snuck underneath him, and then, I mean, when you were telling me about it earlier, you said it the best. He just blasted around the top of that thing, basically put the tire on the fence and just, and yeah, because Ferguson was leading going into 1 and 2, and by the time they got to the flag stand, Bobby gapped him.
Yeah,
So
Ferguson took the lead, and then going into three, Bobby just sent it up against the
yeah,
wall in 3 and 4, and then Bobby had enough speed and just drove right past Ferguson. And that's
yeah,
his fifth Slocum 50 that he won. I'm pretty sure I saw too. So.
yeah. I think I heard that 5 for Brent Slocum. He was number
Oh
5.
yeah.
So
Oh yeah. That's
yeah,
the race where they do this,
yeah,
right?
they do the
Yeah.
5.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, that's a cool thing. That's probably one of the coolest like memorial things I've done at a race. I don't know that I can think of one where they do something like that.
Uh,
Um,
I know at Benton County Speedway, I call it Vinton. That's one of those tracks that goes by.
mhm.
They have a race called the Urbana 5, and I wish I could remember. It was for obviously someone that passed away, or maybe a few people. But they do a thing where before the races, like people like hold I believe it's 5 out, and then the cars make like 5 laps around the track. But that's the
Okay.
only thing that I've seen similar
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah. I like that. I don't know. Those I mentioned it last week when I talked about it, but they kind of mean a little bit more. That race definitely I can tell meant a lot to that racetrack, and so I like when they do cool stuff like that. Also, watching Bobby rip around 3 and 4 reminds me how I find that wall in 3 and 4 at 34 just so cool.
The
I
the
really do.
tall wall.
The big tall wall that they take the time to make sure 34 is always exposed. They go out there after hot laps or qualifying, they put the lines in the wall, they clean off the 34. And it's funny too, because the other side's completely wide open. So we got this huge wall on one side, just completely wide open on the other side.
Some
But
tracks just have things like that that make them like you see a picture and you instantly recognize the track.
yeah.
Because there's a track I always, when I've talked with Brad in our Discord group, it's Fayette County Speedway in Iowa. I always just call it the track with the tall wall because in turn one it's got that really big wall at the track, and that's how I remember it by. I always will remember it, and I'll probably end up there because of just that wall, like and seen videos
Because
from the place.
yeah, yeah. That one's harder to like replicate if you're like trying to promote a track, but yeah, another thing that we like, distinctive track
It
features
just
is
yeah, things that are different, things that you don't see
yeah,
at every track you go to.
yep, yep, absolutely. So, but yeah, so that was definitely a good race. They go again. The Mars does. So most of the guys we're talking about are probably heading somewhere else. But Mars the series does continue on this week. Friday, Saturday. Carter, you know where they're at, so let us know.
Brownstown Bullring in Illinois, not Brownstown in Indiana. And then
Yeah.
Saturday they go to Peoria Speedway.
Yep. 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 And that's mods and late models, right?
Yep, both nights.
Yep. Right
And
on.
I don't,
So
I think it's like 2000 something for mods both days and then 5000 both days for late models, right? There might be an extra
yep.
number added on there or something,
There
but
is, yeah. So it's 2,000 and 5,000 at Brownstown, and then Peoria is 5,098 and 2,098,
oh, and I saw
and then
Peoria's memorial race for, I think it's Gary Sweebold or something like that. I might
okay,
pronounce it wrong, so I'm guessing 98 is associated with that.
that would make sense. Okay, that explains that. And then I did also see, I don't remember the exact numbers, but I did see there's lap money up for both the mods and the late models. So I think the purse caps out kind of somewhere around like 8 if you were to lead everything. So there, I mean, 5 plus a couple extra is pretty cool, and spreads out through guys leading laps. So pretty
I want
decent paying race.
I want to mention too, Peoria had a 2000 to win mod race, just like not sanctioned or anything, well, UMP, not a series, this past weekend, and Chase Holland won that this past weekend. So if he shows up again, he could be a favorite. And I guess there was a good race too. I didn't watch the full highlights, but I just saw there was a video of the highlights, and the caption was Slider Fest at Peoria. So
Okay.
Slider Fest usually means it was probably a good race.
Yeah. And they're running with the late models, so that means you can catch those guys on flow,
Yep.
right? Because they're running with the late models. So right on. And I think didn't he beat Neville for some reason? That like random factoid just jumped in my head. I think
At
Trevor Neville
Peoria.
was second or third. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
that
so
could be right.
yeah,
Neville's been
I could
fast,
be
so
wrong.
wouldn't surprise me if he was towards the front.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I bet a lot of those guys were practicing for this very race. Is probably what they were doing. Because they got the mods got lap money up too, so it's not
Yep,
just the
both
late
do.
models. The mod. Yep, yep. So right on, right on. And then I think you had mentioned that you had the Spring Nationals on in the background at one point.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna let you give us the winners on that, and then I can support if we need any backup.
Yeah, Friday night I was busy playing Xbox after the rain out, and I just had I-75 on in the background. I also had 34 on my laptop, so I paid a bit more attention to that one. But yeah, I-75 was on, and Ricky Weiss ended up winning that, and then Hedgecock was second. Is that
Yep,
right? And then
yep.
oh, I can't remember third now. I knew
Dale
third earlier.
McDowell.
Dale McDowell, there it is.
who
But
who we had theorized would be someone showing up to these races last week. So we know a little something, something.
and Overton was towards the front in that, and then he got a flat, if I remember right, which unfortunately happened to him the next night at Tazewell, where Tyler Erb ended up winning.
Yep,
Um,
yep.
and
That one was for 21 grand too.
yeah, and surprisingly, I'm guessing speed or something, but they had like way less cars for a much higher
Yeah.
payout, which was kind of strange.
Yeah.
But
We're inconveniently located. I don't know. I think it's
yeah,
one of those pretty but hard to get to, pretty and pretty hard to get to tracks or something. But I don't know. But yeah, yeah, they did because they had a fair bit more. Well, 40
yeah,
on Friday.
and
Yeah,
then
and they
what,
were at 24.
20, 24?
24.
Yeah,
Yeah, a full field at least. But yeah, yeah. But I Turbo. Turbo came when I was writing down this. I noticed that the guys who finished first and second, Turbo, and then Jimmy Owens. They both came like they were both like plus double digits, and so I suspect there must have been tire wear or something
yeah.
happening going on.
There was tire wear in that race, and I don't really think it rubbered or anything. It was just like it didn't seem like it would. Maybe, I mean,
Yeah,
who knows? With Tazwell, it could rubber in a weird spot. Like it's not a normal
yeah.
racetrack. It could rubber like way up top or something.
I
Um,
mean, they're cruising though, right? So
yeah.
they're just very abrasive, maybe on the tires.
But yeah,
Yeah,
they a bunch of because Tyler Erb. I mean, he was passing guys, but I also think he got a few spots just from guys blowing tires.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, then he got the lead and was kind of checked out from that. And then yeah, Jimmy Owens second and third was
Third
Overton,
was Brendan Overton. Yeah,
who
blew a
got a
tire and came all the
flat.
way back to third.
And I don't know how many cars he actually had to pass because I don't know how many were left on track when he got a flat, but he got back up to third nonetheless.
Yeah.
So
Well, I bet he did have to pass Michael Leach. So Michael Leach finished fourth. I just thought that was worth a mention. That brand new in a late model this year, and I don't think spent out all that terribly much to come home fourth at that place. That place is so freaking fast. Like, uh,
you want
you
to
know,
talk about a track with a distinct feature? That is one with the banking
yeah,
there. That is
yeah,
very, very distinct when you see a picture of that place.
yeah, for sure. For sure. So I think the Spring Nationals goes again this weekend. They're at Beckley Motor Speedway, I think it is called, for
Hmm.
the I'm not sure what it's called. Beckley USA 100, I think is what it's called. But anyway, they're going for $4,053 on Friday and 15,053 on Saturday. So be interesting to see who shows up to that. It's on Flow as well, but with both the national series going, I don't know. The numbers might look different,
It
but
is co-sanctioned with ULMS, though, right?
correct. Yep,
And
I
that
forgot to
is
mention
that
that.
the
Yep.
series in like PA-ish area? There's a series in the you know what I'm talking about though? There's
I
one in,
feel like yes,
so and what
yes,
and Beckley's in Virginia, West Virginia. So I mean it would
West Virginia, I
so it would
believe.
make sense then, yeah, I guess if that's the PA one,
Huh.
because so that could help draw in some cars too.
Interesting. Help and or hurt another show we're going to talk about in a minute. An
That is true.
interesting point you just made. Um, but running through a couple more results, Northern All Stars mods and late models were at Paragon, and Jason Jameson won that. He took
Upset.
home the 10th upset. Yeah,
I'd
I
say
would
that was
say
an
so.
upset.
Oh yeah, I would. $10,071. So the 71 kind of gives away that. I believe it was the Marvin L. O'Neill Memorial. So Huddy took second, but yeah, I would say you're saying upset because Huddy took second, right?
Well, I
So
mean, just
Jameson winning.
the guys behind him. I mean, Jameson ain't bad
Yeah,
by like
yeah,
any means, but
yeah,
if you were to look at the field, you'd be like, oh, Huddy's gonna win, or
yeah.
Gustin, who is there, might
Or
win.
Augustine. Yeah. You
And
know, you had brought up how Gustin was at this race a few years ago.
yeah, I don't know if it was the exact same race like the Marvin O'Neill Memorial, but it was like an
Right.
earlier in the year race at Paragon that was on Flow, and yeah, Gustin showed up, and I don't remember if he won or not, but I was like, I just for some reason remember Gustin being at that race. It's the only guy I remember being there, but he was
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, he was there, and it was funny because he was at Cedar County or Tipton on Thursday, skipped 34 on Saturday, went and ran this, which was originally scheduled for Saturday but got rescheduled for Friday, and then went back to 34 and raced 34 on Saturday. So Gustin had quite the trip.
Yeah, I'm curious how far that was. I know 34 is on the far east of Iowa.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know if Paragon's far west of Indiana, so then it wouldn't be too bad. Um, but yeah, I mean, still crazy to
Yeah.
just instead of just staying in one spot, he's like,
Yeah.
screw it, we're gonna go all the way through Illinois to Indiana just for that extra 5 grand. that he
Yeah.
could have won. So
Hmm. Yeah, and then made the return trip. But hey, maybe he likes the track. Maybe there's some connection or a sponsor is. You know what I mean? Sometimes there's reasons why guys kind of show up places.
yeah,
I always found it odd that like Mike Marlar would just all of a sudden show up at the Gopher 50 when it was a Lucas race. Like I was like, I mean, he's not racing with the tour, right? So for him to show up, but it turns out he's got sponsors that are out that way, and that's why he was there. So it's not. Okay, you gave me a look like it's outlandish that Mike Marlowe would show up. It's not outlandish that he would show up,
I
right?
just
Not like on the
remember
face of it, but
I just remember when Mike Marlar showed up to like the North Dakota like outlaw swing like 2 years ago. And I think Mike Marlar was like, I've just never ran those tracks and they looked fun, so I figured
we might get more of that version of Mike Marlar.
I
He's
feel
sort
like
of on the
he's kind of on like the Tyler Erb fun tour, just not to that level like of
yep,
running all over the place all the time. But like yeah, he's just like this place looks fun, let's go race there.
yeah, yeah. And he's been running pretty good wherever he showed up too. He's been more or less towards the front and stuff.
Especially
So
after
maybe,
switching chassis too to
yeah,
Infinity, right?
Infinity, yeah, yeah. Those things are quick. So, to cap off the Northern All Stars real quick, Ryan Thomas topped Trent Young and Colin Green for 1500s in the modifieds too at Paragon as well. So, worth a mention. And then, sort of closing out modified. So, Arklatex had Donnie's birthday bash with the American Racers Modified Series this weekend. 1500 on Friday went to Manuel Williams the second over Sean Gaddis and Gary Christian, and then on Saturday 2000 went to Cade Dillard in a Gary Christian backup car, or second car, and then Chris Hennigan was second, and Christian actually was in third. So, yeah, I guess Cade I think he was supposed to be at Arrowhead, got rained out,
Yeah,
and yeah, decided to go whoop up in a USRA modified. So he built Gary's car and then he drove Gary's car to victory lane. So right on. And then because modifieds is in the name, and I'm only like inconsistently good about this, but Big Block Modifieds ran Super Dirt Card Series at Albany Saratoga for $7,500, and LJ Lombardo, who admittedly is a name I know, but I know nothing more about him, so I'd call that a bit of an upset as well.
I guess it
Uh,
was, I believe it was the second one I saw on
okay,
Twitter. The second Super Dirt Car Series win
all right.
ever. So
Well,
I don't know how many he's ran, but I mean that's not a
yeah,
ton. So I would
that's not
say classifies as an upset.
Yeah, I mean his name's not Matt with one or two T's or Stewart,
It,
so
it's an upset
oh
to me. I don't follow much big
yeah,
blocks, so
yeah,
I've never
yeah,
heard of him. I know like the
yeah,
Williamsons and the Friesens and whatnot, but I never heard of him.
yeah,
So in my mind, it's an
yeah,
upset.
yeah. Me too. I'm going with it. Way to go, Jay. Way to go, LJ. So right on. And then Alex Yankowski was second, and Tim Sears was third. But anyway, that's sort of all the big money late model shows that happened last week. Looking ahead, we kind of previewed some of them a little bit. But Carter, you hit on an interesting topic, that ULMS thing. I was browsing their page the other day, and they do have a number of PA drivers committed. And so interesting factoid, because Lucas Oil is heading northeast. They're going to be at Georgetown for $20,049, and then Hagerstown, which I think is in Delaware,
No, I think it's in
New
Maryland.
Jersey, Maryland.
Some
Okay, no,
should we?
that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Is it Maryland? I was
Maryland.
gonna do
Yeah, that's
some
Maryland.
live
Yep.
research. So
No, no, that's right. Maryland, which is 25,000, and then they're at Port Royal on Sunday for 10,000. But
that's in
I
Pennsylvania.
that is in Pennsylvania. But I sort of assumed often when like those shows are in the Northeast, those PA guys kind of a fair bit of them show up. But with this ULMS co-sanctioned thing at Beckley, I don't know. I don't know. Like I thought I saw Zarin and a couple other guys you'd normally see show up. So car counts could be interesting on that swing. I don't want to overblow it, but
Yeah, I'm not sure how many actually follow
yeah,
the ULMS
I saw a
deal,
fair bit
but
announced.
yeah, I
I
mean,
saw a fair bit
I think
announced.
there is a few that would have likely been at like a Port Royal and Hagerstown and whatnot that probably won't now because of it. Which I mean, as long as the car counts aren't drastically hurting, I mean,
Yeah.
I got no.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll.
Yeah. I
I'm
don't
not too
not in,
worried about it, but
yeah, not intending to be like, oh my God, there's a travesty. It's just it
yeah,
was I'm always interested because the Northeast is just it's not super fertile territory, and then all of a sudden you pointed out something I completely missed, and I was like, well, dang,
I
like
I wonder how many will show up at Port Royal though, because that doesn't
yeah.
conflict with Beckley. So maybe
Mhm.
what night do you think will
Yeah.
have the most cars of the Lucas one, all of the three?
That's a great question. I mean, I think you hinted at it. I would have to say it'd be Port Royal. I
Yeah,
think it'd have
that's
to be
that's
Port
that's my guess too. I also just it's like the more known track, like I don't know, I just feel like
Royal.
more guys are gonna show up because of that.
Which is crazy because it's less than half of the other two shows,
Yeah,
right?
it's
It's
it's the
10
the
grand to
lowest
win.
one.
Yeah. The other one's 20,049 bucks, and the other one's 25,000. And we're like, oh, 10,000 show on a
And it's on a
Saturday
Sunday,
Sunday
so they have
afternoon. Yeah.
less competition. I mean, there might like
Yeah.
I don't know what tracks are running, but who knows? Maybe Lernerville's got like a weekly show, and a few guys are like,
Yeah.
"I'll do that, and then I'll go to Port Royal on Sunday
Yeah.
instead." So
And also, who knows how much of a commitment to ULMS is. I'm not trying to be
yeah,
disrespectful when I say that, but like you could commit to run the series and maybe skip the first two events, and it's not that gonna hurt you that bad either way. But like, remember that game we were playing, like name a driver who might be there that you're not expecting. I'm gonna go with Mason Ziegler is gonna bust out the late model this
uh,
weekend. I think he'll be with Lucas. I'll think he'll be on the Lucas swing with them. That's
um,
my gut.
I I saw a post from him recently saying like we'll be out soon, and this was like a week or two ago, and it was a picture of his
Yeah.
late model, so that's
Yeah.
probably right.
Okay. I could see him ending up at Beckley, though. I don't want to
Yeah,
discredit that's
he could be
20
at
grand
both.
up for
I
grabs.
mean, he could be at
Yeah.
Beckley and Port Royal. So
Who knows? But yeah, no, I think he'll do the whole swing. But anyway, so and then the World of Outlaws is also back in session, if you will, and they're going to
Dega,
Talladega. Yeah, they're at Dega. Are you going again?
I will not be there. No, it's just a
So
NASCAR weekend too. It'll be too many people for me.
yeah, that is way too many people for you. Um, but yeah, so 12,000 on Friday, 50,000 on Saturday. They call it the Alabama Gang 100. So, um, I don't know. I think I saw a year or two ago that they did something like a couple of 20 lap qualifying features and then a 60 lap main event, and they called that 100. But I don't know if
Dude,
you've got,
we're gonna do some
you
live research
you
because
gonna
we,
do some
we we
live research.
mentioned if it was 100 laps. Yes, okay. Saturday night, 100 laps, 50,000 to win. So it is
100
actually,
laps.
it's not a 40-60
Okay.
deal. They're
Okay.
actually running
Not
100.
anymore. They got around to it. But I don't know. That seems only right. If you're going to have a number in your name, you know what I mean? It'd either be the total up top or the laps.
Yeah.
And I don't want any funny math about how you ran some laps last week or last night, and some I want them all at once. But anyway, so
And don't
uh,
start doing miles like NASCAR does. Like the Daytona 500 is 500 miles. Let's not start doing
oh
the,
yeah,
the
no, I'm not here for that.
Alabama gained 25 and it's just a 50 lap feat. I mean, I know it's not a half mile track, but like if a half mile track,
Yeah, none of that nonsense either. But um, anyway, do you got to guess that car count? Do you think how many did they
uh,
have when you were there with Hunt Front?
the highest night when I was there was 54. That was
All right.
with Wu raining out and Lucas Oil being off though.
Okay.
Although
No, this is
now I guess now all the Wu guys have to go down there. So
now all of it. Yeah.
that is about 25 cars at the train.
Give or take. I honestly wonder if this might be the time where we see a few people drop off. There we may
I
roll in a
think so.
little lighter. Yeah.
Um,
We
I'm gonna say 56.
56.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
All right.
55 and a half over under. Or 56 and a
Hmm.
half, I guess it would be.
56 and a half. Yeah. I will. Oh. You know what? I think this event is at least in partially reference to Red Farmer, and I believe he was there when you were there a couple of weeks ago, and I believe he's gonna be
He
here.
wasn't racing, but he was there. He
But
was
he
in the
was
video.
there.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and I believe he'll be there again. I suspect he'll be there again, and I think they're going to show out for him. So I'm going to go with over. I'm going to go with over 56 and a half. So
If you just had to throw out a number, what do you think the exact number will be?
I want to say something wild like 61.
I could see it. I mean, with all the Woo guys coming in, if you get like the same field as what Hunt the Front brought, and then you toss in the Woo guys, I mean, they could easily
Hmm.
hit it. So
I could see. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of guys that have gotten their cars out the last couple of weeks. There's been a lot of shows out and about. You know what I mean? Um, so I don't know. Yeah, let's say I'll throw a dart. Let's say I'm gonna just make a I say I'm gonna stick for sure. We're gonna score whether I was right over under 56 and a half, but we'll also see if 61 sticks if they get 61 or not. So
here's one more question for you. Will a outlaw driver win it, or a guy off the tour? Like a guy from the area or whatever, a local you
like
can call
local
him.
guy.
Yeah, 100 laps
I
too.
think 100 laps. That's the thing. Yeah, I honestly think you know what? Dale McDowell.
That's who I was thinking. He's always good at Eldora and the 100 lap stuff. I know Pierce is good too.
Yeah,
So I think
yeah.
it'll be one of them two, but I'll
All
go with
right.
McDowell.
All right. Yeah, we'll both roll with that. You know what? You said that was the first time you seen him one and probably won't be able to see many more of those, so maybe we'll watch this one on TV. But yeah,
I
I
might
think
be
that's a
able
good
to,
pick.
for some reason, based off prior experience, I think I'll be able to catch the feature after the races Saturday night.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Given everything you know about it. They have about a bajillion late models. I think they got every version of
they
late
also
model.
have sprint cars, 360 sprint cars as a support class, and
Okay.
that probably isn't going to speed up the show. So
No, no. Is it just those in support or don't they have a
I
bunch of late
believe,
models too?
I think for this show, I think it's just the
Okay.
360 sprint cars.
All right. It must have been a year or two since I watched it. I thought though,
I
again, just
I
because they were all
know
late model drivers, but
2 years ago they had just the sprint cars because I remember Kyle
okay.
Larson said in an interview he was like, "It's like I don't want to sound like a late model fan right now, but when I was sitting in the lineup within the late model, I was really wishing these sprint cars had starters because they kept wrecking, and we were in that lineup for like half an hour."
Right on. Well, we agree, Kyle. We all agree. So let's get around to that. You have some pull. But anyway, um, so other than that, we do it. So on the modified side of things, we've got the Heartland Modified Tour has a doubleheader this weekend. They're at Salt City and Caney Valley, and I believe those are both 2,000. I think so. I have not confirmed for sure, so I'll update next week when I look again. But I think that's what I got. So anyway, so that's everything. That's everything we might be watching. But Carter, I am still completely unsure. Like, I have no idea what my plan is this weekend. None. Like, I don't even know if I have to like run errands. I've nothing. I'm just blissfully unaware, and this is a rare state for me. But I've got nothing to add about where I'm going racing, and I will inform you and everyone else when Sherry tells me. But you're going racing this
Yes,
weekend.
and prior to the racing, I am going to the NFL draft, which I know I said
Oh.
earlier, I didn't want to go to Talladega because there's too many people, but
Mm.
the draft will be
Yeah.
like 300,000 people.
Yeah, your reasoning doesn't hold so
No,
true. All
but
right.
this is
So
a
hold up,
once in a
hold up, hold up.
lifetime experience. So,
Agreed, agreed. And also it made even better by what is Thursday. In addition to the draft, it's also something else.
oh
What is
yes, my
Thursday?
birthday is Thursday as
It's your
well.
birthday as well. So do we want to tell everyone how old you turn?
Yeah, 23.
All
So,
right. So that's pretty rad that you get to ring in 23rd birthday at the
what do you
draft.
know the exact number the Vikings pick? It's got to be around 23. It'd be funny if it was 23.
Oh, wouldn't that be something? Let's take a look. We usually try not to do live fact checking, but we're both a little more mentally fried than normal this go round. It's a little darker and a little later, if that gives you any idea. But anyway, Vikings pick 24th.
Oh, on the
So
24th.
on the 24th,
If only my
yeah,
birthday was, if only I was turning
yeah,
24, it would have been a magical
right.
moment just for them to trade out of the first round.
This is the trade out of the first round. That's my fear. Like, uh, we are well known in well known. Yeah, let's just roll that. We're well known in Minnesota. We get a lot of our viewers are in Minnesota, is what I meant to say. But anyway, so obviously Quasey's got to be one of the viewers. So just like Quasey, like, don't trade out of this pick. We need Carter to be there at the draft, get to witness a Vikings pick. We don't care if there's not another draft pick until the fourth round, and it makes all the sense in the world to trade back. We don't care. Take the pick. Carter's there on his
Yeah,
birthday. Take the damn pick.
if I wasn't there, trade back, no problem. But I'm there. I want to see a Viking pick live, and I can't make it Friday or Saturday, so.
Man's gonna be at a racetrack, all right?
And it's supposed to be cold and possibly rainy Thursday, so I don't want to
Uh,
stand through that in that for 12 hours and not see a Viking
yeah.
traffic.
The worst is if like they trade back from 24 to 30, like 31 or something, and then
Oh
you're
yeah,
like, all right, I've made it this long. I am not quitting now. I am gonna be here. And then on the clock at 31, and they trade out again.
trade out again. Yeah, like especially
Oh,
too if like we were planning, it's like okay, we can leave after the 24th pick or whatever, and then they trade
yeah,
back to 32 or something. It's like all right, I guess we'll stay, and then they trade back
yeah.
anyway. That would
Yeah.
be
So tragic. So mad.
hopefully
You
maybe
might
I'll get drafted too. Who knows?
maybe. Life changing. You are about draft eligible age, so hey,
Yeah.
if you get there early enough, find some scouts, start stretching, show them
Except
how
the only
fast you
problem is
are.
I'll end up getting cut because I'll miss my game because I'm at some random dirt track. Oh, sorry, coach.
Sorry, coach. I know it's a lot of money, but racing is better. Anyway, we're off the rails. We're off the
Speaking
rails.
of racing, yes, I will also be at three races this weekend. Friday at Luxembourg. Hopefully the weather again looks kind of iffy.
Yeah.
And then Saturday Plymouth opens up, and I go there to do I stream there weekly, so I'll be there most weekends from now on.
All
Um,
right.
and that's just a weekly show. And then Sunday I'm going to Slinger Speedway, which I've only been to one other time, and that was last year, like around the exact same time. They have a special like to start their season off, um, and they have a like crate late model series. And when they were there last year, they brought in like 40 something cars. So I'm assuming probably something around the same. And they also have
Yeah.
Hornets, which are the best class on asphalt. Not a joke at all. They are the best class to watch on asphalt.
Yeah.
So they got that, and then and then they have one more class which I'm very excited to see for the first time. And part of the reason I want to go is they have a class called the 602 Craters, which is a mix of cars with 602 engines, but it's like modifieds, these trucks, and then like 602 crate late models. So I'm looking forward to seeing that as well. Also a figure eight. They
Right
have
on.
figure eight racing going on. So
Oh. I've never been to one of those. I did recently see one on like TikTok or something though, and I'm like, okay, this makes more sense than the carnage I had in my head. Like it was like an in car, and you could see how they accelerate, slow down,
yeah,
find the gap, go. Like my,
they're not just sending it through
it,
there every like we would
just
on a video game. Oh, I can
yeah.
make that. We'll be good.
This might be a dated reference, but do you remember the game Twisted Metal?
I've heard of the game. I don't know if I played it or not,
Okay,
but I have heard of
okay.
the game.
Alright. I'm showing my age. I played that on the original PlayStation, but that's kind of like the carnage I'm envisioning. But anyway, but yeah, no. That should be fun. I can't recall. I honestly don't think I've ever been to an asphalt race. Like that's a true story. I don't think I've ever been.
Yeah,
And so,
they're not my like I don't dislike them. They're not as good as dirt. I mean, I'll be honest there.
yeah.
No, I don't think there's any debate.
Well, dirt has multiple
Eh,
lines usually,
exactly.
so
But I don't
yeah.
mind going to one like once a month or so. Like on my schedule, there's kind of one like once a month. Actually, we'll talk about it more next week, but I got two asphalt races in a row, like 2 weeks in a row. So um,
Oh.
yeah, but yeah, I try to get one like once a month if I can. And if I want to hit every track in Wisconsin, I do have to start hitting a few more asphalt tracks because I do
That's
want to hit.
fair. That's
My
fair.
goal is to eventually hit every track that runs weekly still in Wisconsin, not like the
Okay.
one-off fairground track. I don't really care about those,
Mhm.
but
Wow.
the still weekly operating track I'd like to hit at least
Yeah.
once.
Hell yeah. Well. So that does mean you got to go see asphalt. And
Yeah.
to be fair, racing is racing. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
racing is still cool.
I'm still entertained for the most part. So
Yeah, exactly. Could be more entertained, but I'm still technically entertained. Like this is yeah. So I get it. Like I started watching. We've talked about YouTube before. I've started watching this Air Dog on YouTube. He does like the cars tour racing. It's interesting. He's entertaining. It draws me in a little bit, so I don't hate it all the way. But anyway, so I don't know. I like I mentioned up top when we started this. I have no clue what I'm doing this weekend. I may or may not end up at a racetrack, but I'm not going to promise anything. So I'll fill everyone in uh if and when I go next week along with Carter. So anyway, I think Carter, that wraps up all the topics we wanted to touch on, which means that we've got only one thing, and that's
uh,
time for
the one for the road, and I will start. So when I was at 141 this past weekend, it rained a whole bunch there, which I mentioned. So the infield was too wet to do teching and their victory lanes in the infield. So they did teching in the pit area of 3 and 4, but then they did victory lane right behind the grandstand. So like in like the midway area, pretty much where you get your ticket, you walk through this little like gravel area, and then it's the grandstands. And in that gravel area, they just had the cars drive in from the pits, which are like really close to the stand, so it isn't like,
Mhm.
it works out perfect. They park there, and then the guy gets out and they take their pictures. But what was cool about it is the fans could like interact with the driver like right away pretty much. And like Benji, when he won, when I was walking out, I saw he was signing autographs. He gave his trophy to a kid. And
Were
normally,
you
I mean, you can,
jealous?
no, I was not. I got 3 trophies up here. Um, but yeah, normally, I mean, you can do that after the races, obviously,
Yeah.
like most tracks, but it's just cool, like they kind of do it right after. It's like that's the winner. You don't have to go looking for his trailer. Sometimes if they're the first feature, the winner might leave before the races are done.
Hmm.
Or now you get the opportunity to just walk up right there and get an autograph or a picture or whatever with the driver, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, yeah, that is pretty cool. And like, I'd made mention in that Luxie article, and I think this is kind of the norm out by you, but like after a feature's done, the winner goes on to victory lane, and he might be getting his picture and everything done, but there's another race going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you give me a hard time from time to time, and you'll give me plenty more as we go along. I like the pomp and circumstances and the little bit of added show to it, and so like this allows them to just go, around back and have that little bit of thing. And I know they can't probably do it every show, but it adds a little something when the fans can go down and just kind of see the winner right after he races and not have to go trudge through the pits, because that can be a scary experience for someone who's never done it. Scary, air quotes, right? More anxiety scary than legitimately scary. But I don't know. It adds something. When I saw you post it, I thought it was kind of cool. I think you were a little bold on social media, I think, and said something like every track should do this or
I
something.
do. I think if they can do it, I think that's the best way to do it. If you're able to, I mean, even still have them maybe get their picture taken in the infield, and then just have them if they drive up behind. If they don't have anywhere to be, I mean, have them drive
Yeah,
up behind Victory Lane and sign autographs for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then they can go back to their hauler and do whatever they want to do.
I agree. I mean, like if the broader storylines around dirt racing of trying to draw fans, and I think we've talked multiple times about things we found that draw fans, but that's another one. That's what drew me into dirt racing, was talked about it last week, but sort of how it is so much easier to just kind of connect with these guys. So like to the extent you can just have your feature winner behind the grandstands and have all the fans come down and take a picture, you're going to make more fans out of kids, and that's obviously how
Yeah.
you grow the whole thing. So
And especially if you're a track that maybe gets done a bit later, and so there are guys that are loading
yeah,
up. If you're not done by 10 o'clock, and usually then most guys will stick around for a while, but if it's getting like 11:30, guys are like, all right, we're out of here. Even if the track's still 18, it's like, oh, now the guy wanted to get a picture of his car or something is gone. Or now this gives you the opportunity to walk up there. And drivers could bring hot shots and or whatever hero cards, whatever people
yeah.
call them, with them
Depending on
too
your
or
locale,
something.
what you
Yeah.
call them.
If you
Yeah.
like, if you had a crew member, just bring those up or something. It'd be a good way to interact with the fans and whatnot. So
Yeah. I agree. I agree. And I liked your bold take. And who knows? I don't know. Maybe when that Dirt Info modified tour kicks off, you and I can workshop those ideas when we're running it. But anyway, that's far off. Anyway. I think that means it's my turn since there's only two of us. Mine's not nearly as cool as yours, but it's like a little bit of a twofer. Um, so a couple weeks back, I think the World of Outlaws late model tour announced a new title sponsor, the Real American Beer, which I think is has something to do with Hulk Hogan. I think he's involved in some way. So,
Yep.
uh, which is interestingly enough, how we had mentioned a few weeks back to bring the WWE back to dirt racing, and who heard us? They heard us. So,
I wonder if he'll actually show up to any World of Outlaw race. Like I don't expect to be there at a
uh,
sing at all of them, but he's got to. If you're like beer is the title sponsor, you got to show up to one like World Finals or something.
well, I mean, USA Nationals, right? Like USA Nationals, Real American Beer, the Real American Hero, Hulk Hogan. He better be at freaking Cedar Lake. He spent so much of his freaking life in Minneapolis. It's right there. Hulk Hogan, I know you're watching too. You better be there, brother. Anyway, but and in tandem with that, so I saw today they announced that the Coltman Farms Cup, I believe it is called, it was announced. It's like a 9 event, 20 some odd race, but like multi-day event, so 9 events. And 10,000 to the winner, I think 5,000 to second place or something similar to that. Anyway, the whole reason I bring it up though is I saw the 3 races up by me, the aforementioned USA Nationals. Next, not this coming weekend, but the weekend after, Dairyland Showdown at Mississippi Thunder, and then the Go for 50 are all on it. And to the extent that that little mini series can do anything to increase turnout at those 3 events, I'm happy they're on it. So, so I figured I'd mention it, mostly just because I'll be at those 3 races and I'll be talking about them on this podcast. So,
And hope
yeah,
maybe it'll bring in a few more cars too. Just
yeah, I
even if it's one or
hopefully,
two, it might be maybe one or two. Hey, that's two more guys
yeah.
that you might not have seen
Yeah.
originally. So
I didn't read enough to know if you like have to be on tour to be eligible for this thing. And I know it starts like this weekend in Talladega, and then next week it's in up in Wisconsin. So I don't know that it'll draw anyone in anyway, but if it can do anything to increase car counts, I'm all for it. So uh,
if it's gonna draw anyone, it would be like a Turbo or like a Mike Marlar at most, probably.
yeah,
The guys
I
that can
could see that.
afford that, the guys that show up at random places and that can afford to do it, so that aren't
Yeah,
already on a tour.
yeah, yeah. Maybe it is like the Turbo Marler Cup.
Although if it runs uh, at any point, if it interferes with Summer Nationals, it probably won't be
Yeah,
Tyler probably won't be following it if I had to
you
guess.
make a
So
point. All right, so we've talked about Turbo and Marler. There's some racing going on. We've discussed all of the places they could go. Let's end the show with a couple of predictions. Where do you think Turbo shows up this weekend? We've got Beckley. We've got up in the
Mars,
Northeast with. You think with Mars?
yeah,
Okay. I'm gonna throw an odd one out there, and I think he shows up with the Spring Nationals.
at Beckley, I could see it. I mean, he
I
did. I was surprised he did it last weekend. I think part of it was
Yeah,
weather, partly, but
yeah. I'm probably fixing to be wrong on that one, but I wanted to take a contrarian take. That's like almost 20 grand up for grabs
yeah,
out there on the
versus
weekend.
2.5s. But I don't know. He loves
Yeah.
the Illinois tracks, and I don't know. I just feel like him hitting up a Mars race wouldn't be too shocking.
All right. Well, we'll know more next week. And then do you think Marlo gets out one? And if yes, where do you think he shows
See,
up?
I was thinking, I don't know if he'll even leave the shop this weekend. And if he does leave the shop, I'll go. Hmm, I don't know. Is Alabama closer or I guess Alabama would be closer. I'll go with Talladega if he does leave, if he does race this weekend.
Okay. I'm gonna go with yes, he does for sure, and he's at Alabama. So
Yeah, I mean 50
I'm gonna
grand. It'd be crazy kind of
yeah,
to stay home. It wouldn't be the first time, but
yeah, Yeah, I figure. I think was he there when you were there?
Nope.
Okay. Well, too late. We've gone long enough. We're gonna end the show. I'm gonna live with my answer, but I maybe would have wanted to change it. But anyway, if you've made it this long, please drop a like down there. You're a real trooper, and we absolutely appreciate you. We'll catch you next week.
See ya.